will be reading to you from The Masquerade by Daughter of Apollo 2019. Now, on to Chapter 7, The Breakfast. When my father burst into the room, everyone instantly got quiet. It didn't take a genius to see that father was mad. Both his hair and his tie somehow had become a mess overnight, which was odd because France never let his outfit become anything more than crisp. His eyes had a fire in them, burning so brightly I could tell he wasn't just mad, he was extremely pissed off. And if I was lucky, I would get to watch him yell at someone who wasn't me. He grumbled something about Ireland, Scotland, and beer before finally looking up to see all the people at the table. "What the bloody hell are you all still doing here?" Father exclaimed, frustrated. "Mom told them they could stay over," Canada answered, his voice shaky. Father whipped around to stare at Canada, and my brother cowered down under his glare. They stayed for a second before Father sighed and looked away. Of course she did. Then he turned to Argentina, Chile, Mexico, Peru, and Brazil. "Finish your breakfast, and then get out." The distant family all nodded, their eyes wide in fear, before trying to eat their remaining food as fast as they could. Father didn't sit down. He just stood in the same place staring at them, which only made them eat faster. I shared a glance with my brothers, all of us thinking the same thing. What was he so mad about this time? There was a moment where no one spoke, and the only sounds in the room came from the scraping of silverware against the plates. It didn't take long for our family to finish their breakfast, especially since my father was basically forcing them to hurry up. When they all finished, they practically ran out of the dining hall, eager to get out of my father's sight before he exploded on them. Once they'd left, Father finally sat down in his usual spot at the head of the table. Luckily, no one had sat in his seat. They would have had their head chewed off before they even saw it coming. A beat passed before Australia cleared his throat and spoke. "So, Dad, what happened?" There was definitely some hesitation in his voice, but I had to give him props for asking. "Your uncles Ireland and Scotland are complete and utter fools," Britain said, clearly not in the mood to talk about it. More silence. Clearly, Father noticed this, and he snapped at us. "Don't just sit there like statues. Talk!" We still didn't talk. Father sighed rather loudly and frustratedly. "America, tell me, did you meet anyone at the ball? Anyone catch your interest?" "Yes, actually," I answered, thinking back to those amber eyes yet again. "There you go. I knew you'd eventually find someone." Britain smiled and looked over at Australia, probably to criticize him for leaving the ball as early as he did. I couldn't focus. My father, King Britain, had found my efforts at the ball acceptable. And not only that, but I had impressed him, even when he was so angry at his brothers that he could probably stab them. I felt like I was floating. I had made my father happy with my efforts. For the first time in 2 years, Father hadn't looked at me like I was disgraced to the name of the family. The whole rest of breakfast I couldn't focus, even when my mother came in and Father started arguing with her about letting our family stay over. I only focused on the conversation when I heard the names of Spain and Mexico being thrown around. I zoned back in to find Mother was talking. "Don't you see? He thinks it will be best for his daughter," Mother insisted. "We have enough people to take care of now. We don't need any more," Father argued back. I leaned over to Australia, who sat on my right. "What's going on? I wasn't paying attention." Ozzy rolled his eyes, before explaining the situation. "Spain asked Mom and Dad if they'd allow Mexico to stay with us for a little, while her siblings all come home with him." "Why?" I asked, slightly confused. My brother just shrugged. "Not sure. Mexico wanted it? I don't know why. You'd have to ask her." I sat back in my chair, thinking. Why would Mexico want to stay with us? Once again, I turned back to my parents, who seemed to have finished off their argument, and were instead just huffing at each other. "Excuse me, Mother, Father?" I said, standing up. "I was wondering if I might be able to leave. I have some things to attend to." Both of my parents looked up at me in surprise. I never had things to attend to. "Yes, America, you may leave," my father answered, in a rather unsure manner, acknowledging my formal statement. "Thank you." I smiled. I caught my brother's baffled gazes, but I didn't comment, and left the hall without another word. As soon as I left the room, I ducked down a hallway towards my room, but about halfway there, I stopped. I needed some time alone to think and get my thoughts in order. My mind had been racing ever since the ball began, and I wasn't sure what to think anymore, so I changed my course and headed towards the garden instead. When I arrived, there was a slight breeze, and all the trees around started to move gently, producing a soft sound. I sighed and started to comb through the tangled web of my mind. I thought about all the new people I had met, all the old friends I had seen, and all the people I hadn't personally known, but seemed to be close to people I did know. In the first category fell Japan, her brothers, North and South Korea, China, and Ukraine. All of them seemed really nice, except for North and China, but I'm sure if I got to know them better, we'd be buds. There was also the mysterious man that tried to sneak in through the garden. There was something about him that I found intriguing, and I just wanted to learn more about him. In the second category were Germany and Poland. I hadn't seen them in years, and in that time they had gotten a lot more friendly towards each other, even to the point where they were now in a relationship. I had to admire their courage. I don't think I would have done that if I were to consider how much Germany's dad hates Poland. But there was something about them that was bugging me. Even still, I wasn't sure what it was. Also in the second category was Phil, but I wasn't ready to think about him yet. Sometimes I wish we could just go back on how our friendship was before the incident that happened 2 years ago, but the mistakes that were made were just too big. There was no coming back from something like that. Lastly, in the third category, I placed 2 people. The man I saw Mexico with, who strangely appeared in my dream, and whoever New Zealand had fallen for. I didn't know exactly who they were or what they looked like, but I did have a fuzzy image of him standing with a person wearing a green and red mask that I didn't remember seeing at all. So I figured that must have been it. At some point, my thoughts shifted, and they became a lot less focused. I thought about Japan and how nice she seemed. I thought about her brother, North Korea, who seemed to really hate me in particular. And then again, my thoughts changed, and I found myself thinking more about the man again. I remembered every detail of the scene. The way his eyes sparkled in the dim light, the way his mask shimmered. Time flew by, and before I knew it, London was coming to get me. "Your Highness, your father wishes to see you," London said, in the most professional-sounding voice. "All right, thank you." I stood up straighter. "Where is he?" "He's in his office, sir." I groaned inwardly. Of course he was. I thanked London again, and made my way into the castle. Why'd father have to meet me in his office? And that's the end of the chapter. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'd like to invite you to join the Discord, which is linked down in the description below. That being said, I hope you have a nice rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you, and enjoy your time.